Welcome back to Set Like Off-Road School, today with another adventure bike review, and we get to ride Aprilia's Tuareg 660. Aprilia's Tuareg, their entry into that mid-weight adventure bike segment, and you've seen our videos of the Ducati Desert X, the Yamaha Tenere, so we've been riding a lot of these bikes lately, and as always, our reviews are off-road based, right? We care about how these bikes perform off-road. We're not going to get into the nitty-gritty of little details. It's all about off-road performance, how it handles, how we feel riding a bike, and that's the sort of feedback that we will give you in this video. One of the first things you notice when you're jumping on the Tuareg is the seat height, right? Compared to some of the other adventure bikes out there, this has a very comfortable seat height. Like, I'm a taller rider, and still some of the bikes, especially the Tenere, it's really hard for me to get both feet on the ground properly. So with the Tuareg, that's not an issue. So especially if you're a shorter rider, that will be a big benefit going off-road. The Aprilia Tuareg comes with a 660cc engine, produces 80 horsepower, and has multiple maps for you to set up depending on whether you're riding street, whether you just go trail riding, or you want to ride some hardcore off-road. In the off-road map, what you will notice right away is the bike is very torquey. It has good power, it has a lot of power, especially at the bottom end, and it wants to put that power to the ground. So if you're going out and the ground's kind of loose like it is here today, you will see in some of these clips it's really easy to lose traction, especially in lower gears. So you kind of want to use that torque, run a higher gear, and use the power and the torque of that bike to your advantage. This clip is a really good example of using the torque of the bike to bring it up this hill. You see it's quite rough, quite rocky, very gravelly, so not a lot of traction, and it's going uphill quite steeply. So this is second gear. I'm working the clutch a little bit, but you can see here and there I'm just losing traction on the rear wheel. So the rear wheel just starts spinning, and you just have to get used to the power to all of that torque that the Aprilia produces to really benefit from it. Later on in the day, once I had a couple more miles on it, it was a lot easier for me to get that power to the ground and make it usable. On the handling side, you'll feel that the Tuareg is very comfortable in a sitting position. The seat's in a good spot. The gap between the seat and the handlebars when you're sitting down is very comfortable, very relaxed position to sit on. But obviously we're riding off-road, so there's a lot of standing up, and that's where that changes a little bit. I found that the bars felt a little high, especially when you're standing up, which makes the front end feel loose. Obviously, we're just riding this bike. We haven't really done a lot of research and a lot of testing about setup, so I'm sure we can play around a little bit with the handlebar position. But just jumping on the bike, that was something I noticed right away, is just how the bars feel raised and kind of like too far forward for my liking. And again, in this clip, it really demonstrates what I just talked about with the front end being a little loose. We're riding this downhill, crossing some of these rain ruts. I just felt like the bars were a little bit away from me in a sense, and it made it difficult to sometimes control the front end from sliding around too much. Front fork, you're working with a 43mm KYB fork that for a stock bike is pretty well set up. You've seen some of these clips. We're riding some steep downhills, and the front end kind of wanted to dive into some of these rain ruts, but the fork setting was good enough to kind of keep the fork up in its strokes and make it very comfortable for me to kind of ride the bike through some of that stuff. One thing that's really nice about the Tuareg is just how easy it is to handle, right? You can see it's a very nimble bike, very easy to kind of make tight turns, which is a really key part when you're riding single trail like this, where you might get stuck and have to get the bike out. On the braking side, you're looking at Brembo components, front and rear. In the front, a pair of 300mm discs with a 4-piston caliper and a lot of stopping power, especially in these slow speed gravel sections. You have to be careful. The front brake quite aggressive, takes a little bit getting used to. The rear, easy to control, easy to set up, so can't go wrong with Brembo components on these adventure bikes. The Tuareg comes with a 6-gear transmission. Riding off-road, especially some of the tighter stuff, you'll mostly find yourself in 2nd and 3rd gear. As I mentioned earlier, the bike is very torquey, so 1st gear is just a little bit too aggressive, especially when there's not a lot of traction. 2nd, the bike carries really well. It's really easy to kind of get some power down, find some traction, control the bike from there, and then when you have some faster sections, 3rd gear, something wide open, maybe 4th, perfect setup, that 2nd, 3rd, 4th ratio riding off-road. So this is it. That was a full day today riding the Aprilia Tuareg. Thank you very much to Aprilia. I've had a great time on this bike. Like I said in some of these clips, right? Seat height, a big plus, especially when you're a shorter rider. Like the bike is just a little bit lower, makes it easier for you to get your feet on the ground. Suspension, definitely off-road capable. You know, you don't need to do too much. Plenty of power, plenty of torque, so if you're riding some of these hills that we rode today, that's always kind of where you want to be and what you need. So at $12,600, this bike is a very good option for you if you're looking in that mid-weight adventure bike range, right? You don't want to ride a big 1290 or 1200 GS. You want something that's light, that's nimble, that's easy to ride, but you don't want to be on a KTM at 90 or a Yamaha Tenere. The Tuareg definitely has its place in that market segment. Very fun to ride. I'll have this bike for a couple more days. I'm looking out to getting back out there, riding some more trails. As always, if you like this type of content, if you like adventure bike riding, if you like enduro, if you like motocross or supercross, make sure you check out some of these videos that we posted the last couple of weeks. Every week we have new riding tips, bike reviews, and anything fun off-road on 2 wheels.